Hey, what's up, y'all? So I know it's been a little while since I posted on YouTube. Just a lot going on. Them snowstorms have pushed back a couple shoots, but yeah, welcome back to the channel. Now, before I dive into today's video topic, or at least something for us to discuss, just letting you know that I have just released or made public the Kickstarter for the miniseries that we were talking about called Faith Chapters 1 through 4, where it's a 4-episode miniseries and it's about the corruption in the Black church. So all that hype I've been kind of building up about the miniseries and us talking about it, well, now's your time. And if you know anyone, if you know anyone who feels like this project is something they want to be a part of, whether that be donation wise or maybe they're an actor, feel free to, kind of click the link in the comments below. It'll be there, the Kickstarter link, and feel free to reach out, leave a comment, send a message, because this is a really important project and we all want to be it's something we feel like this is really important for the Black community. So show some love. I appreciate y'all, love y'all, and let's kind of jump into today's video. Let me close this window here. So this video is going to be about the fact that a lot of Black dramas and films, a lot of the times Black people don't get the happy endings that I feel like not only do we deserve, but also the happy endings that we would necessarily like to see in more films. So I have some notes here and I'm going to write it. I'm going to kind of look back and forth, but the video will kind of put up stills and, all that stuff, the usual editing stuff. But here, let's go through the basics, right? So typically dramas are one of those things where it's often structured in a way where there's, the safe drama in a sense, where on a basic level, traditional drama often strips away like a cultural specificity, right? Basically, the character that you see, the main character, is someone that everyone can relate to. What I mean everyone can relate to is a very general cookie cutter kind of character. So they don't have anything specific about them that makes them unique or special or different. Everyone has a way of connecting to this character, which is why everyone can watch the film. Non-specific, right? And also this type of drama, it forces people to connect with the character because there's just this regular traditional, bad guy. There's a good guy, bad guy, very simple, nothing complex, nothing crazy. So that's kind of what I mean, where the character, even if they may look white, look Black, look whatever, their issues are specific to them and it has nothing to do with the greater reflection of a community or anything like that. Now, this is where we get into dramas where that are much more typical, especially in modern dramas and modern films that we see. And there's a reason I'm talking about all this stuff now, because we're currently in the process of making another short film for you guys before we even get to the miniseries. But we have this thing called the collective protagonist versus the loner. And by definition, traditional Western dramas love loner kind of hero. And the reason why Western media loves it is because of the same ideology of pulling yourself up by your bootstraps, where in reality, people like the idea, or Western culture likes the idea of the fact that, oh, I can do it by myself. I don't need anyone else's help. I don't need that. But a lot of cultures, whether that be Black, Latin, Caribbean, whatever the case may be, most of those cultures don't function that way. Most of our cultures are built on family, built on community. And even if we have our differences within our communities in terms of, where we grew up or how we grew up or just difference in opinion, there's certain things we just don't do, or certain lines we don't cross simply because we are community-based cultures. But in Western culture, they love the loner films and the loner dramas and, things like that. And that's a very traditional structure. So in Regina King's One Night in Miami, for example, the drama is not about one man's journey, but it's about a four-way ideological kind of back and forth between, Malcolm X, Jim Brown, Muhammad Ali, and Sam Cooke. There we go. Almost forgot Sam Cooke. And the film is quite literally one of those things where it's like everyone's trying to figure out their place, their ideas, and trying to make space for their ideas. And even if you see some of the clips online, a lot of the back and forth, they're still kind of talking about the overall community, but they're trying to figure out how can their ideology kind of fit into the grand scheme of things within the movie. So that's extremely important. Now we have something called the rhythmic / and circular narrative, right? So black drama often rejects this linear progress. This is something that's very common even within like Jordan Peele Jordan Peele films, and even Ryan Coogler to some level, and just a lot of other black films in general. So black drama often rejects the idea of like this linear process. Even myself, I've written films like this where the traditional scripts or the traditional setup is, setup, conflict, resolution. But often that is not the way that at least our stories are told, because in reality, remember, people write based off of their realities. A lot of the things that we're dealing with today is circular. So we never quite got past the point of conflict. We're still trying to transition to resolution. And because we're dealing with that in real life, our stories are written like that in real life. So, for example, Eve's Bayou, right? In 1997, the film blends memory, mysticism, and the present day, suggesting that the past isn't over. It's a ghost that lives, as they would say, in the kitchen, right? So traditional drama demands restoration as like, the status quo. But for us, black drama suggests that some wounds are definitely ancestral and they can't be fixed, or they can't be fixed until the root problem of it is corrected or addressed, which in real life, as we know, the main problem is systemic racism, systemic injustice. And thus, we can't fix the problem because the problem is so deeply rooted in the systems in which we live in. So we never really truly get the resolutions that we need. Thus, the title of this video, Black People Never Get Their Happy Endings. So this last version, sorry, the camera cut out before I can really finish what I was going to say. But the last version, which I want to read, which is the most important when it comes to black films, is something we call the Defiant, Endurance, and Unresolved. This is very common in black films. So the most problematic and profound difference of drama in black films is the refusal of the tidy resolution. Once again, I referenced that just a minute ago, where traditional drama seeks catharsis through definitive wins or losses, but black drama, however, often seeks catharsis through definitive win or loss. Black drama, however, often concludes with defiant endurance. Look at the ending of, like Queen and Slim from 2019, right? So we saw the entire movie of them, it's like them falling in love with each other, but they never really get a happy ending. It's like this forever enduring experience. Even when you think of, I'll say probably even Jordan Peele's movie, what was it, Us, where even at the end of the film, Nupita's character in the son, we find out that the son realizes that Nupita's character was the person who was from down below, but instead of, there being a fix for it or anything about it, it's kind of this, they have to continue doing what they're doing or continue on with, the aftermath of it. There's no absolute solid resolution. Even though there is technically a villain, the villain technically succeeded because the person who they ended up killing was the original. So it's one of those things where the film may have an ending, may have a villain, but the message of it just kind of tells black people to endure and continue to deal with, whatever's going on, which is very frustrating, which is difficult. And they don't necessarily end with like this world changing like hero that's against the system. Instead, it's just like this realization that they must maintain their soul, our culture, and things must go on, even when it comes to sinners. Like I said, there was a bad guy. There was you had Sammy, who ultimately survived, and you had Smoke, who did make it to the end, or the last act. But at the end of the day, the problem in which they were truly fighting had nothing to do with the vampires in its entirety, but it was about the fact that they still had to deal with systemic racism. And even at the end of the film, when he asks Stack, like, hey, that night was one of the best nights because for a few hours we were free, and here we are still dealing with the same issues today. So this is usually what happens in a lot of black films. We don't get the luxury of getting the singular hero, the singular resolution, and kind of getting happy endings, because art is inspired by life. Art is inspired by the things we see in the world. And as a community, we know for a fact that we have not gotten that happy ending. So we don't know what it looks like. And that's one of the biggest problems we have when it comes to our films and creating, is that is not, unfortunately, a happy ending is still not in the cards for us because we still haven't seen it. That's actually one of the largest reasons why people as a whole have a hard time connecting to Black films, because in their eyes, they've gotten happy endings. They know what it looks like. They don't get to deal with the struggle on a day-to-day basis. But for us, this is every day. And the most defiant, the most revolutionary thing you can do as someone who creates films or tells stories is, I dare you to tell a Black story with a happy ending. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to check out the Kickstarter link down below. We're creating a little mini series about the corruption in the Black church. Yeah, not too big of a budget, but looking for a little love, a little help. And I'll see y'all over there. Peace out.